Hello, all. I'm Robert Knowles.
And I'm Richard Simpson.
And today we're going to do part 4 of Mussolini.
Mussolini, at this point in history, was trying to back out of being supportive of the German government. Not that he didn't want to be their allies, but he didn't feel that Italy was ready for a war against most of Europe. Even Mussolini had to agree that Italy, while they were, in his eyes, strong enough, he didn't feel that they should have been involved in the war from the very beginning. So he waited out until almost the fall of France.
So once it was very clear that, in his eyes, Germany was on the road to victory, he decided that he better get in on this thing before it was all said and done, and he had no piece of the pie. So as the fall of France is happening, he declares war on the Allies. By declaring war on the Allies, he made Britain's job a lot harder. And this is really the main problem of Italy being in World War II. It wasn't the battles in Africa. It wasn't anything else. The main issue and the main contribution that Italy does by joining forces with Germany is it ties down the Royal Navy into the Mediterranean. Because had Italy not declared war, Britain would not have had to have had the naval forces that it had in the Mediterranean. So because of that, the Italian Navy played a major role in stretching the Royal Navy. So in that sense, that was their real contribution to the war effort, tying down the Royal Navy. Now, also, he decided that he was going to further his aspirations in Africa, which went very badly, and Rommel had to come and save his rear end, much to Rommel's chagrin, and much to the Italian officers' chagrin because, well, they didn't get along with Rommel because Rommel did what Rommel wanted, and, well, they thought they should still be in command even though they were getting their butts kicked. And to talk more about what happens next, I'll hand it back to Richard.
Mussolini decided in 1940 that Greece was going to be his next conquest. Before he invaded Greece, however, in 1939, he had invaded and conquered Albania. So the Italians had a stepping off point into their attack into Greece. And it went poorly for the Italians. The Greeks pushed them back into Albanian territory and just kept pushing. Germany, deciding that they did not need a thorn that could come back behind them and ruin their wonderful war record, decided that they would help out their allies in Italy by invading Greece. In the process, they invaded Yugoslavia because Yugoslavia decided they didn't want German troops to go through them to get to Greece. This led to the German-Italian occupation of Greece, which, again, did not go well. But what really didn't go well is Italian participation in Russia. Robert?
So, now, as we all know, in 1941, Germany decides to do a little thing called Barbarossa. Now, that was a three-pronged attack. Originally, they wanted to get to the Caucasus in 1941. They didn't get there because, well, to cover that, we'd need to cover a whole new show. But let's just say, suffice to say, a little bit of cold weather and arguing between generals didn't quite get all the accomplishments. So in the second offensive, they were set to go south because Germany needed oil. So the Italians were sent to assist in the second offensive in Russia that would go down to Stalingrad and then into the Caucasus, so that Germany could get the food supplies that it needed and the oil, mainly the oil. However, this didn't go very well. The Italian units were not up to par, and, well, needless to say, come 43, they were no longer required and sent back to Italy. Also, there was this little thing called the Allied invasion of Italy, but I'll let Richard talk about that.
In 1943, the Allies invaded Sicily. King Victor Emmanuel of Italy decided he was kind of getting tired of Mussolini. But the other side of that was that the fascist party was getting tired of Mussolini and his constant failures. Mussolini's son-in-law, Count Ciano, and another fascist party in high bigwig decided that it was time to go to the king and say, look, we need to get Mussolini out. The fascist party had a congress. They determined that it was time for Mussolini to go, and they had a vote of no confidence in Mussolini. However, Mussolini, being Mussolini, decided that whatever the fascist party said didn't affect him at all. So he went to his job the next day as prime minister, as if the Congress never happened. By noontime that day, Victor Emmanuel, King of Italy, called his prime minister to his palace, and Mussolini was no longer the prime minister of Italy. And as Mussolini was leaving, he was arrested and imprisoned by the King of Italy, and a new person, Pietro Badoglio, became the prime minister of Italy.
Now, the king had done this because, of course, with the Allies attacking Italy, it was soon real apparent that the Italian forces were not going to be able to hold back the Allies. So the king's strategy was that if he removed Mussolini, he had hoped that he could be able to bring the Allies to the bargaining table and arrange a ceasefire and a peace and a truce. The problem with this is he forgot to tell the Allies this. So unfortunately, before he could get word to the Allies, the Germans got there first. The Germans forcefully took power of northern Italy, busted out good old Mussolini, put him in as puppet leader of Italy. And one of Mussolini's first things that he would do really shows his absolute devotion to his new German overlords. And that was that his son-in-law, who then, of course, was removed from power when Mussolini was as well, was turned over to the Germans. The Germans then turned him over to Mussolini. And Mussolini, instead of imprisoning his son-in-law, showing leniency, or bringing him back into the fold, all is forgiven. Oh, no. No. His son-in-law there had to be a sign of solidarity with his German overlords, or his masters, his allies. And so his son-in-law, by Mussolini, was charged with treason, put up against a wall and shot.
1945, April. Germans are losing the war. They know this. And they are bringing their troops home from places like Italy to protect the fatherland from the invading Russians, the English, the French, and the Americans, and the Canadians. While leaving Italy, Mussolini, a few advisors, and his mistress hopped in the back of a SS truck, because at that time Mussolini was being protected by the SS. They were stopped along the way by some partisans, communist partisans of Italy. The German army was told they could go. They could keep going. Mussolini, who was in the back of the truck on his way to Switzerland in exile, got a little worried when he heard the Italian partisans say, "The Germans can go, but any Italians that you have with you must stay." The Italians searched each truck as it passed by, and they found Mussolini, his advisors, and his mistress. They were pulled out of the truck, arrested on the spot, and within a few days it was determined by the partisans that they were to be executed. They were summarily shot and then dumped in the plaza in Milan, where 15 anti-fascist martyrs were executed by Mussolini previously. When the Italian people found out about the death of Mussolini, they went to see the bodies, where they proceeded to kick and spit on and throw food at the corpse of Mussolini, his advisors, and his mistress. The partisans then hung the corpses by their ankles, something that had been done in northern Italy for 1,000 years as a sign of disrespect to the corpse. However, most historians today agree with the partisans that said they hung them up that way to get them out of harm's way from the people. While they were hanging by their ankles, the American army showed up, told them to cut them down, and the Americans buried them in an unmarked grave, where they remained. And Mussolini remained in that unmarked grave until 1946, after the war. Some neo-fascists found him and stole the corpse. Later in 1946, the corpse was found, was buried in a crypt, and the only monument in Italy to Mussolini is his crypt in a cemetery in Italy. Mussolini was a bully. He was a dictator. He was a self-righteous asshole. And in the end, he led Italy into a war that even he had to admit they could not win. The Italians paid for it. But in the end, Mussolini is remembered only by that crypt.
I'd like to thank you for joining us for this 4-part series on Mussolini. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it a little bit informative. Next week, we will be starting Stalin. So buckle up. That's going to be a long one. And until next time, I've been Robert Knowles.
And I'm Richard Simpson. Thank you, and good night.
Richard and I would like to thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Until we meet again, another point in history. Have a good day.